starting off this series strong with a man that I should not have gone on more than one date with, but I went on, I think it was like 4 dates with. I literally only went on so many dates because he was rich. His great something grandfather signed the Constitution, so he was old money to the gods. On our first date, he spent like, I think it was like $2,000. It was something ridiculous on omakase. And he would always buy like the most expensive bottle of wine. And since we were both like pretty young looking, the whole staff would like come out and like ask us questions and stuff. Like, I don't know. I'm just here with him.
I've seen many men in her comments that were complaining about how she's a gold digger or she's just after his money or whatever, because she went on so many dates, and there is something like a flaw that this guy has that we're gonna find out about later that made her not interested in him at all, but she still tried and forced herself and gave him a chance because he was wealthy. And there are men in her comment section that were not happy about that. So I want to address that before we move forward. First of all, this channel is about dating for marriage for women. So I'm only ever going to look at things or any clips that I show from that angle. And if she's dating for marriage, let's say, because that's the perspective we're going to take here, can you really blame her? Can you blame her for wanting a rich husband with a stable source of income or stable savings or wealth, whatever you want to call it? Can you blame a woman for wanting to have her children have a high society type of hobbies, perhaps be able to play the piano, the violin, the cello, I don't know, the harp? Can you blame a woman for wanting all of that? Especially if she plans on giving this man children and having a family with him and staying loyal and by his side forever until the very end. She's not going to take his money and run with it. She's trying to build a family. She's trying to think about her future. Most women want stability, certainty, security, comfort. They don't want to take your money and run away. They want a husband that can give them a beautiful life. And you never know, she may develop an illness later in life. It's always nice to know that you have that financial cushion. So if a woman can find someone that she actually likes, she enjoys his company, she likes being with him, she finds him attractive, there is chemistry, and on top of everything else, he's also comfortable financially, so why not? So be it. I'm sure that the same men that are quick to label women with gold diggers and this and that will not mind going on a date with a Victoria's Secret model. They will accept just about anything and everything coming from her. And they would stay by her side. They will keep dating her. They will not make her split the bill. And if she let them, they will eventually marry her. It's for them, it's about looks. And for us, it's about stability. That's all it is.
But what made him so awful was that he smelt so bad. And I feel bad saying it, but like it was the worst BO of anyone that I've ever been with. So on our first day, I could obviously smell it, but I was like, you know what? Everyone has off days. I have my days. Like maybe he just like is smelling bad. I don't know. Which by the way, he would use ChatGPT to plan all of our dates, which at least he was trying. On our first day, I mentioned I wanted to go to a paint and pour and go to a rooftop that had Italian food. Our second date, he planned a paint and pour to a paint and pour place I've never been to, and it was really good. And he took me to a rooftop with an Italian dinner at the rooftop. So like he was great at planning the dates, but then every single time would make sure to let me know, yeah, I just typed this into ChatGPT, like it just told me what to do. So like there was effort, but like, I don't know, but at least he was planning things.
I mean, it was only the first days or the second. It's early, the early stage of dating. So I think he just wants to downplay how much effort he's putting into this. That's why he's saying, oh, I just asked the ChatGPT or AI or whatever, and it came up with this plan for us. He doesn't want to show you that he's doing all that and probably planning it down to the second in order to make sure that you don't get bored, in order to make it interesting for you, in order to impress you. So I'm not going to blame him for saying that. Perhaps he was just trying to downplay how much effort he's putting into it. He doesn't want to freak you out, show you how much he cares. And now we're going to talk about his smell. She said he smells bad, very bad, like horrible. And I know that bad smells, bad breath, and bad body odors can kill attraction. They can destroy chemistry. I talk about this in my program for women that are dating for marriage. I talk about the importance of eye contact, the importance of having a signature perfume as a woman to stay in your feminine energy. And you will find all of this and more in the classroom section of my community. So if this sounds like something of interest, go ahead and join my community. You will find the link for it in the description box.
And I remember on our paint and pour date, I was so embarrassed because we were sitting in the very front of the class and you could just smell him. And you're really close to people around you in the paint and pour. And I was like, everyone either thinks I smell or they're like, why the heck is that girl with this guy that smells so bad? Like, you must have terrible friends if you smell this bad and you've lived your whole life, your friends, your family. Like, my parents would have been like, you smell, get some deodorant. We need to get you new deodorant or something. I don't even think he put on deodorant. And I tried because he was rich. I could see the future. Like, I was like, I want this. He was showing me how Elton John came and privately performed at their house. I am the biggest Elton John fan ever. So I was like, I can see, like, I was like, So I looked in his like cabinets at his apartment and I saw he had deodorant. He actually had 2 bottles, like tubes of deodorant. And then I didn't see he had any cologne. I was like, ooh, this is like a good. And I asked him, I was like, hey, do you like have any cologne or anything that like maybe like I can spray? I was like always trying to play it off, trying to be super nice. And he was like, yeah, I don't think I'm going to do cologne until I'm like an old man. I was like, babes, you got to start right now. Like you have to start right now. He would like shower. He would get out of the shower. I like came into the scene too late. It was like seeped into all of his clothes. Like you would open up his like wardrobe and you would just like smell the stench. And it was like a BO stench. He must have just not been washing his clothes. Like, I don't know. It was like seeping through his pores or something. And the fact that I went on 4 dates with him is crazy. But I was like, if I can just make him smell good, he's like a decent dude.
According to her, she tried her absolute best to save him or to correct this horrible flaw that he had and to make him smell nicer. But I don't think she tried that hard, especially if she only saw him for 4 dates anyway. She could have told him at the end of the final date, after she decided it was going to be the last date and she's never going to see him again. She must have made that decision at some point. When she decided she's not interested and she's not going to keep seeing him, at that point, she should have told him. And then it will be up to him if he wants to change that about himself, make himself smell nicer, somehow do something about it, and then continue with her and see more of her. And perhaps he can just suck it up, forget about it, and act like it never happened, and work on it and smell nicer. Or he can just at least know and correct that flaw for the next girl, make himself a better smelling a person, and then he can move on and carry on with dating other people, and it would have saved him. Because I know that this girl felt sorry for him and she said, I don't know how he has terrible friends that didn't tell him, but she could have been the one that changed that. But then again, she tried and she's really a nice girl. I don't blame her really, because there's no nice way of saying such a thing. So she must have thought about how to bring it up, and maybe it didn't work and she just gave up quickly. I'm just saying this because it can be hard to find someone decent. She said he's a decent guy, respectful, and someone that's doing very well financially. It can be hard to find such a person. But anyway, it was her decision and she doesn't seem very upset about it.
I don't know, he was kind of weird. He had this thing with his like baby blanket, which I'm a stuffed animal. Like, I'm all about letting your inner child flourish as an adult. Like, I don't care if you have a baby blanket at all, but he had this thing where he always, like, he would put it in my mouth. No, the first time the thing touched me, I was like, I know if you're not washing your clothes, you've never washed that thing. Like, that has dust from like, and it could have Elton John's dust on it though, if it was at the concert. I don't know. That is when I drew the line. That was the last time I saw him. I got my free brunch. I got my Uber from him. And then I peacefully exited
So let's say you're in this type of situation. What do you do? What's the right thing to do if you don't want to lose this person? Because it's not like bad breath is something that you cannot change. I know it was not bad breath here in this example we just saw, but I'm just saying, for example, if it's a minor flaw that they have, something that's changeable. If it's a minor flaw that they have that is changeable and you can make them the perfect match for you once that's changed, how do you go about it without breaking their heart, without upsetting them, without being rude about it? How do you do that? Because there are many women, and I'll show you examples later in this video, that fixed something, a minor little flaw about someone, and that person turned out to be their forever husband. So how do you do that? We're going to watch this next clip and then we're going to address it.
This was 10 years ago. The guy was a little bit younger than me. He saw me at a restaurant. He was there with his friends. I was there with my friends. He was coming on strong, but it was really endearing. And as I talked to him, I realized, like, okay, he's smart, he's clever, okay, but I mean, let's see what's going on. He asked me out, and I was like, okay, really not sure about this. But we had a nice time, and I realized that his character, such character, and such a good person, I really admire. Those qualities are everything to me. But I also noticed body odor. And I said to myself, well, it's a first date, like, the guy seems really great. So I said, well, let me just go out with him a second date just to see, maybe he was nervous. Second date comes along. Amazing date. Fun, funny, clever, interesting, smart, everything. Body odor is still there. And by this time, I'm starting to think, what do I do? Because the doctor in me knows that body odor doesn't always mean that someone's not clean. Sometimes it can mean an underlying medical condition or just something else. Also, body odor can change, right? You can't always change someone's personality. So I'm like, what do I do? So I'm like, I'm going to go on the third date and just keep our fingers crossed. So I go out on the third date. Amazing time. But body odor. We're talking just generalized body odor. He just stank. And it looked like he got dressed for the dates and got ready for the dates. His hair looked like it was freshly done. Like he looked like he'd gotten ready for the dates. But he didn't smell good. So I thought about it and I was like, okay, what am I going to do here? And I decided I didn't want to let this opportunity with someone who I really thought was a great person. I didn't want this to go by for something like body odor, which in many cases can be changed. So I said, all right, well, I'm going to tell him. Now, what I chose to do, I called him. And some people say, like my friends at the time were like, oh, you should have done it in person. But I called him. I couldn't face him in person. I didn't have the guts to do that. I called him up and I'm like, hey, so there's something I wanted to chat with you about. He's like, okay. I was like, oh my God, we've been having such a great time. You're really awesome. I said, but I just kind of noticed that there's a little bit of an odor. And he was quiet. Now, of course, I don't remember if these were the exact words, but this was the tone. And I said it with love and kindness because I meant that. And I knew this was going to be like, literally, this was going to make it or break it. I mean, I don't even know how I would handle it if somebody told me I had body odor. I'd probably be humiliated, but there was silence. When I say silence, we're talking radio silence. And then he starts kind of laughing nervously. He's like, what do you mean? I was like, well, and then I'm getting nervous because I realize he's nervous. I'm like, just a little bit of body odor. And I just, it was just important for me to tell you. And I'm sure I was being like all girly and like, because I was embarrassed and I wanted him to know that I meant well. And I told him that I meant well and I really liked being with him. He kind of laughed nervously. There was a couple other on his end. And then he quickly got off the phone. And I remember thinking, oh my God. I told my friends afterwards and they were like, Jen, you should have joked about it or you should have done it a different way. You should have just brought him like a care package with soap or something like that. And that's not me. And I don't think that would have necessarily been any better. Some people say I should have done it in person. Maybe, but gosh, it was hard enough to do this on the phone. Long story short is I never heard from him again. Really. And that was tough. I hope that he took that with him for the rest of his life. And I hope that it helped him.
Unfortunately, this is the most direct way to do it. She did it in the most possible direct way. She didn't joke about it. She just called him specifically about this topic, which can make it 10 times worse. She didn't just bring it up in the middle of a different topic discussion or whatever. She just called him and she said, I have something to talk about with you and this is it. And she didn't joke about it. And he felt fully embarrassed. He hung up and he disappeared. He vanished. This happened 10 years ago. So it's safe to say she never saw him again. And she's never gonna see him again thanks to this. So that's what I meant when I said the girl that we watched before should have at least told him at the end. If he felt embarrassed enough to never want to see her again, then be it. At least he takes that with him. At least it serves him and he will make sure that he's ready, that he's smelling nicer for the next girl. And then perhaps he will be thanking her in his heart. Even if he doesn't want to get in touch with her again because it was too embarrassing for him, it will still help him. And he would know why such a beautiful girl that seemingly was compatible with him was not interested. But what are you going to do if you want to keep that guy around? If you don't want to get rid of him and you want to have that chance, you want him to give you a chance and to just fix his flaw while keeping you around because you think there is potential for something serious. He could turn out to be your husband. So how do you do it? This is how you do it. I found a couple of comments that I'm going to read for you, and they're the last clip that we watched. There were great stories from women that knew how to succeed at fixing that little flaw that their perfect match had. The first comment reads, when I met my husband, he had great character, real nice, but he had a decaying tooth that caused a scent. A week in, I told him, let's both go to the dentist for a clean. The dentist told him, cleaned and filled the tooth. So clearly she sacrificed herself. Not really. It's always a good thing to go to the dentist. And she did that and she succeeded. He did not object. He went along and he played along and she took him to the dentist and she got it sorted. She sacrificed one of her little dates to dedicate to this man and to fix his flaw. And then guess what? She said it was her husband. And this is 1 week in. She did this quickly. So you have to do it quickly. You have to try and fix the flaw quickly because you never know if it's going to work or if it doesn't. So she did it 1 week in, which is a very good example. So let's move to the second example and comment that I'm going to be reading for you. This girl says, I went out with a guy that had visible earwax. All of the other things were great, smart, interesting, kind. We dated for a few months and then I took him to Target and asked him if he needed Q-tips. He said no, he had a box at home. The next time I saw him, his ears were free of wax. This is another great example where the girl did it in a subtle way, and even if the guy seems resistant at first, even if he says no, like the guy from the first clip when the girl asked him, do you have any cologne? He brushed it off and he said, no, I don't need it. But you never know. He may still go and correct the flaw on his own. If the guy is resistant, it doesn't mean that you should argue back and insist and make it very obvious that he has a problem. She suggested that he gets it. He didn't want. He said he has a box at home and they left it at that. She implied in other ways that he should use it. If he has a box at home, then he understood that he needs to use it. And that's exactly what he did. And guess what? She said he was smart, great, interesting, kind. So this was the entire package. I think it's safe to say that the only problem here was the earwax, and she knew how to get rid of it without getting rid of the guy. So if you enjoyed this type of content, don't forget to subscribe. And again, if you are a single woman dating strategically and actively for marriage, don't forget that I have created a community specifically for you, and that you will find my program that will help you find a potential match and a potential husband within ideally 6 months to 12 months in the classroom section of my community. So if you want to go check all this out, you will find the link for my community in the description box under this video, and I will see you there.